All right, hello and good evening. I've received some messages that I broke some features on my code history repository, and I thought, why not make a stream explaining some of the ways you can get around this, and then also just show some of the things I've described or tried to describe in the README on how to handle or how to use the code history repository. I know Waldo has showed off in various sessions quite some things he's using in the repo, and let me see if I can summarize a little bit what he showed before already. All right. So what's broken now is the search. I'm not sure how many of you are using the search in the online repository right away, but yeah, apparently, I mean, I think whenever I search for something, I have used it that way as well, because opening the repository locally just takes too much time. It's just if you clone the entire thing, it's just slow. Also, the AL language loading up is slowing things down quite a bit. So this sometimes is just faster. Now I've checked how I can get around this. And I think the easiest solution is just, I mean, you can try this yourself right away. Just navigate here to this repository or any GitHub repository basically, and just press the dot on your keyboard. And this happens. So in case you didn't know, you can just with one press of a button open the current repository you're looking at in VS Code in your browser. And if for some reason the shortcut to the dot key doesn't work, you can also just, in case you didn't notice, go here and change the com into dev, and it does the same thing. So that just opens up the repository in VS Code. Now, still you cannot search anything here because this is the master branch which doesn't contain any code anymore. For that you can just go here down below, depending on your settings, but I mean, if you're not using VS Code, you shouldn't have any user settings messing around with the the placing of those buttons. You can just go here and, for example, switch to W125. That will open up that branch. But you can also do switch here if that's better for you. Like if it's more comfortable for you, just switch here and then open up VS Code. It will inherit that, and I've played around with this already a little bit. So that's how you can open that up, and you can open up any branch like this. And now you can search in here, and if you don't misspell, it should work. I think the first time you're opening this, or after switching a branch or something, it needs to index something, and then it takes a while. But if I now switch to vendor, it should be pretty fast. And now, so this is the global search through all the files VS Code provides. And you can also do regex search, and you can like match case or search for whole words with those toggles, but it's, yeah. So it's very powerful, the search. Now, that very important button for me always is this one. I like to collapse all the files, and then I can just look at individual files and just go there. You can also open the search results in an editor. That sometimes is helpful. Gives you another view with just the paths and everything, but just so you know it's there. Now when we, oh yeah, another thing, a command, and now I need to see. First of all, if you're not familiar with VS Code as well, pressing the F1 key on your keyboard opens this palette, and also I think it's I don't even know the other combination anymore. There is another combination for the command palette. I always use F1 because it's the easiest. And you can search for a file, find in files. No, that's this one. I mean Ctrl+P, which searches files by name. And there you can also search for, like, if you're not searching through code just for particular files or objects, you can use this, which always, like, you can really narrow things down, and it also, like, you can search at multiple places in the file name just by typing. I think it's limited at some point, but it's really powerful. Like, and the order is apparently important. So I can do something like this. Now this is the bank account ledger entries page we're looking at, and as you can see, there is the AL language is not installed. The extension to do code highlighting and stuff, it doesn't support the browser version of VS Code, I think. But I think especially for just looking something up quickly in the browser, it's really helpful because yeah, it stuff's just faster. So yeah, once you've opened a file, you might wonder what's changed. Now, as you can see, I tried to install Git Lens, but it's I think if you're using it in the browser, it doesn't work without registering, without signing up. So it doesn't really do much. So let me just disable this again, so it doesn't mess with what I'm showing. This is just let's uninstall actually. Now I have this problem that I just need to click buttons when they pop up. It's really annoying. All right, so this is just plain vanilla VS Code without anything to it, and you can see that we don't have a blaming functionality. So what we can use instead is the timeline. So what we can see is that this file was first introduced with version 23.1 and then got updated several times. So when we look at this, it just, I'm not sure, this is probably just the commit. So before it was not there, then afterwards, like, everything got changed. Now, if we switch to the second one, we can compare this commit with this commit for this particular file. So they added a using declarative, and then they also added a few lines down below here. And yeah, I thought they removed something, but no, they just added some code in here. And then with the next version, it's a local variable that got removed and a clear. I think they moved some code somewhere else. And that way you can go through. They actually fixed casing here. That's interesting. And that's the only change that happened with that version. Interesting. Version 24 and then 24.3. There are a number of other changes. All right. So what you can do is, maybe you don't want to look at the changes individually or don't care just about one change, but you want to compare multiple version hubs basically. So what you can do is you go to the older version first and click select for compare. Then nothing really happens, but you can now go to the most recent version you want to compare it to and compare with selected. Now what we get is all those changes at once. So for example, if you're on an older version on premise and you want to see what changed in a particular file up until the recent version, you can look at all the changes at once for that particular file, like this. And I think there should also be a way to compare entire commits, but that's easier with the with that extension. So with the Git Lens extension. So let me just clone this real quick, and then I will show you also how the cloning works and what I explained in the README file. So let's just go back to the main branch. There we go. And now the way you want to do it, really, if you want to clone the entire thing, do so, but you probably don't need it, because if you're, in case you didn't see this before, the way this works is that there is one branch per country per major version. So we search just for Germany. You can see that starting from version 15, which was the first version, I think, on artifacts, going upwards until version 25. So there are, I think it said how many branches. Yeah, 250 branches almost. And yeah, there's really no need. So let's go through this together. And here's a VS Code, and we have a terminal. So let's paste this. We want to clone a single branch, just a single branch, and we just care about the most recent one. So we choose W125 for cloning. And let me just move somewhere else first, because this is, I don't want to clone this into my home directory. All right, now let's try this again. $25 and go. In case you didn't clone this before and cloned the entire repository, I think this last time I tried this, it took me like 5 minutes or something to clone the entire thing. Obviously, it also depends on the internet connection, but now it should be almost done. And there we go. Well, I should probably, let's open that folder actually. There we go. Now, okay, yep. So here we have the A language installed. I mean, I have all my regular extensions, and now if I start to open up folders in here, it will start loading the entire folder, and then it will get slow a little bit. Yeah, I've noticed something just now. I think I had some workspaces in here which also got lost, so I need to put them back, I think. Okay, but now what I wanted to show you, let's cancel this and let's have a look here. And here, this is coming from Git Lens. So if you shouldn't have it installed already, I thought there was one enabled maybe, and then Git Lens. So this one, it's really an awesome extension to do this kind of stuff. So we don't need the source code graph, but this is, here we can now see all the commits that are on that branch, not only the commits that are existing for a particular file. So now we can do the entire thing. Like we can compare the branch, select for compare, the 24 release with the 25 release. Compare with selected. Nice. Let's do that again. Maybe from here we can do the commit. All right, 24. Maybe this was too much of a compare. But normally, I mean, it should be possible. So let's try again. "24, select for compare, 25. Oh, let's take the most recent one. Compare with selected. I'm not sure what's going wrong here, but there is some issue coming from the Git Lens extension, I think. Let's try one more time with different commit IDs. Like just this maybe, select for compare, compare with selected. Yeah, there we go. So something's broken there. So and that way you can oh, both are working apparently. It's definitely slow. All right, but in here you can compare all the different file changes throughout the entire yeah, keep waiting, throughout all of those commit messages, like the different versions. But yeah, be aware that your machine can struggle a little bit with that task, because it's much. So I think that this is running in a VM right here. So I think it might be running out of memory. Yeah, it's bad. Oh, there we go. Right when I closed it. Right. Let's reopen. So this is how you can do those compares. And now let's grab another branch. And this is again referring to the README. You can add branches just like this. So let's go into the terminal again. And I want to add Germany localization 24. And then I will do a git fetch. This is also part in the documentation. And then it will download that particular branch in addition. And now I have two branches. And with GitLens, I can now go ahead and see branches. I think I need to switch first. Otherwise I will need to do remote branches. This way I have them locally. And now I can compare the W1 branch with the German branch. And can see the changed files. So there are a few files that are not present in the German localization. Or is it the other way around? Oh, I was confused. I think it's... I'm comparing W1 with German. So that should be W1 and then German. So that way you can compare across localizations as well. With yeah, ease, I would say. And then yeah, I mean, this is a small monitor, but you get the idea. You can just select whatever file you want to look at, and then you see that, for example, yeah, W1 does not have the VAT amount, while Germany has it. I think that's, or the other way around. Maybe this is Germany. I'm confused. I mean, you can try it yourself. I'm always confused with the direction. The way you can check this, let's see. I can yeah, here we go. By hovering over a commit, you can see the commit message, but that's also not the commit messages here. So maybe the branches? No. Yeah, I mean, need to figure this out. Maybe I will put this in a tweet when I figured out which one is which. But when I tried this with the file compare, I had the one I selected first was on the left side, and the one I selected afterwards, secondly, I had on the right side. So I would imagine that this is the same way. I selected W1 to be compared with the Germany, so this should be W1 and this Germany. All right, this way you can just add branches, whatever branch you need locally, and then you can also use, yeah, this is interesting. You can also use wildcards. You can say, well, I care about all US branches. I care about all W1 branches. And very important, I think, for me is how to change this, because with the git remote set branch command, you can only add branches. If you go to the git config file, and you might not see this in your editor, but you can just use the terminal for this. Going to code and then git config, and that way we'll just open it up in your editor. And here you can see what we're currently fetching. And if I change this to wildcards, I want to get all W1 and all German branches. Save this and then run git fetch. Yeah, nice. Probably like this. Yeah. Then it starts to pull all the other branches, which are now included as well. And while this is running, we can have a look at the documentation again, because this is only describing how to remove. So you want to remove branches in here. So this is what we just changed. You want to remove this if you don't need it anymore, and then you can delete the branches locally, and or the remote. You can the local reference of the remote branch, and then you need to delete the local branch if you had it checked out, and then git fetch will not pull them anymore. And then I think this was a contribution at some point, but I think I lost the history when I purged it. Yeah, interesting. So that's unfortunate. I need to put it in here. You can also limit the depth. For example, the way that works, the repository work in general, all the new branches are pulled. If we go back into the commit history, you can see we're on branch for version 25, but we still have older versions, because the way the commits are built, I will go until the 19.5, and then once I'm on that cumulative update, if the next major gets released, it gets based on that previous major last minor. So this is exactly the way how your sandboxes should upgrade. The 19 branch will continue with the cumulative updates, but the 20 branch will get the history from previous versions. So that way we build up quite a list of commits as well. And if you don't care for older than, for example, 21, you could see how many commits this are, and then also select define the depth. So it won't pull all the commits and just so many as you specify. And then you can also change that afterwards, of course. So yeah. And then switching over to the I need to reload. Switching over to the Sandbox history repository, you can see here even more branches on that, because in here we also include the vNext branch, which is basically pulled from the insider repository. And this, by the way, this updates every day. So this is automated by GitHub Actions. So every day it pulls the artifacts released within the last 24 hours. So you get always the very latest changes. That means that the history, like the commits are not in order all the time. So you can see something where, I mean, this is all 24, 26, but sometimes, let's look into the W1 25 vNext branch, which is basically the next minor, which is going to get released. So those are all pretty good, actually. Sometimes what I wanted to show you is that depending on the order how they get released, it's sometimes that you get the next version and then a hotfix for the current version, and then the commits are not in order anymore. Let's see if I can find an example like this. Yeah, this for example, we had 24.5, and then there was probably a hotfix, and it just Microsoft released hotfixes for all the other minor versions, and then we get stuff like this. So in those cases, you really need to check and search for the commits you want to compare against. But yeah, this was a decision I made because I wanted to have all the versions in here, basically, that you can see if there is, like, if you have a client and there is a new version, and then you can select your version you're currently on, or your client, and select the upgraded version and compare them against and see exactly what changed. So that's why we have them in here, all of them. And yeah, so what you can do here is when you clone the repository, I won't do that now because it's basically the same flow than like I did here. You can pull the vNext branches and then also compare your current, like the current version against the next vNext version and see what changed. What we can do actually is we can do go here, the 26 vNext branch, and open this up in VS Code as well in the browser, because when the vNext branch is built, it also is based on that previous version. God, I have problems finding words today. All right, so let's see if we can find something that actually changed in version 26 already. Yeah, there we go. So if we go here, now I hope this is not just a white space change. So there are just a few obsoleted fields they got removed. Sorry, I didn't see a message earlier, Aaron. No, I'm not talking about app dependencies and changes. I'm just showcasing what you can do with the repositories, the history repositories, and how you can find out stuff from them, like how you can compare versions, how you can use VS Code in the browser versus locally, and yeah, just hoping to help some folks out. Right. Yeah, and if you want to go back earlier, or if you want to compare this with more recent releases from the 25 branch, for example, the version, you would need to clone it again and then compare commits across branches. What you can just do by going into the branches, and let's close that. You can go in here and say we want to compare this, select for compare with this, compare with selected, there we go. And then you can also just compare those actually, now I'm thinking, can we actually just do this? Select. This is still the customer table, by the way. Customer table. Can we select for compare and then switch the branch? Then go back to the customer. Timeline. No, okay. So we cannot do that. So for comparing across branches, you would still need to use VS Code. So let's try the same thing here. Customer table. Customer table. Timeline. Select for compare. Now go here. Compare with selected. Okay, this works. I think because when you switch the branch in the web version, it will reload the window and then lose whatever you selected for comparison. But now I'm sorry, I'm curious. So copy the commit ID. Switch back to W126 next. Compare active file with clipboard. No, that's just the commit ID. All right. So compare active file with search file name. No, I don't want to. Can I not? Well, I guess you could do something like you can copy the entire thing and then go back to and now do this. Okay, so this works. It's not ideal, but it works. You can compare with clipboard if it's just two files you want to compare. So yeah, we have some limited availability of comparison and like the handling in VS Code online in the web. But if you really want to go into deeper analysis of version comparison and stuff, you really want to go and clone the repository, really have a look at the README, do the partial clone because it's way faster. Not only the cloning itself, but also the handling afterwards. So yeah, have a look at that, and then yeah, both repositories, code history for on-premise and the Sandbox one work the same way now. They get updated overnight, as on-premise does not get releases that frequently. It sometimes just finishes quickly, but that way I can make sure that the versions are on here as soon as possible. Yeah, and I will need to look into getting the workspaces working again. I did not notice that they were gone. All right. I think that concludes what I wanted to show you. I hope there are some tricks and tips you didn't know so far. And let me know in the comments if there's anything you're still missing or anything you can't do with that. And I will create a follow-up stream to cover those topics as well. Right, that's everything.